I'm Alex from Low Origin, and this is my 300ZX that I still unbelievably own, or does it own me?
This, don't ask me what happened here, this was some bullshit that happened. Don't really understand this at all.
So, the first thing we do on like Simon's is drill that and have that as your breather.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because the breather is down this back corner right at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, it might be.
It might be that, it might be.
Because bear in mind, that I like over the years, I did so many modifications to this to make it so that things worked and operated completely fucking differently. Things like this was my favourite one.
Yep.
These, you know why those are there, don't you?
Well, the link between
because
the
two. If you take this off and that one off, and then you drive really, really fast, they expand, and then jam your throttle open.
Oh.
Like, so you're like,
oh yeah, because they come into that.
Those bits then jam into your throttle, and you're just at full chat. And you just open the bonnet and you look at it and you're like,
poke it back in.
Yeah, I went like that, and it just shut the fuck up. This does look awful.
So this is a video about my 300ZX that I've owned for a very long time. I'm not going to go into that because obviously there is an entire video dedicated to the history of me and this car, and it's a long, slightly boring history of me owning this car, or as I said before, it owning me. I finished this car in 2015 after a reshell, which I'll never admit to, but I had to reshell it, legitimately I might add, and it was it was finished, and then a load of things just didn't work properly. I got it MOT'd, and then a slightly catastrophic thing happened, which again I'm not going to go into, but I found the wheel afterwards and reattached it. That then led to more issues that I kind of needed to address, and there was a big list, and bear in mind that's nearly 10 years ago. Time has been a motherfucker, and I've started a business, got married, had a child, bought a house, did I already say? Doesn't matter, did loads, and the 300 just kept on getting moved from pillar to post, and it being finished wasn't finished. So I knew that the only way that this was going to go is either it gets sold, or which isn't going to happen, or I spend the time, figure out what was needed, and actually get it roadworthy again, get it MOT'd properly and safely, and start driving it again, which I've done. How did we get here? A guy called Bradley Wallbank at Mutant Engineering, who's in, I'm going to say Nantwich. I've known Brad since 2011, a long time, and he's known of me in this car for a very long time. He has weirdly loads and loads of old 300ZX parts, old VG30 parts that he bought from my ex-teammate Matt Samuel. So he has like a big pile of crap for these, which has been really handy when it came to him then working on the car and getting it up to a nice state, or a usable state. So there was a bunch of problems, things like endless oil leaks, turbos didn't work, one of them was definitely seized, the clutch slipped in pretty much all gears, there was a bearing, I think, that goes on the prop bearing, and that would rattle randomly. Suspension components weren't really attached. There was a bunch of things that were helicoiled very badly by me and another lad, which we won't go into again. But the list was long. I gave Brad the list and he absolutely attacked it. And here we are a few months later, and we have driven this car to Alton Park, which is about 2-3 miles around the corner. I've been driving this for a couple of weeks now, of an evening, on a weekend, and it's just lovely. I strongly recommend anyone who's got a car that they've been keeping for a rainy day, or a car that they've thought like, yeah, I'll do that like in a few years' time, or maybe next year, I'll start the list and I'll find a guy who's willing to do it. Do it sooner rather than later. Fuck me, I'm 40 years old next year and I waited too long. I'm about to become that old ass dickhead in a dumb red car with T-tops. I'm so close to almost being too embarrassed to drive the fucking thing, and I just don't want to be in that position. So anyway, here I am, still in my 30s, and it works, and it runs, and it has cool wheels, has cool wing mirrors. It probably needs a paint job, but yeah, Brad has absolutely smashed it, and I couldn't be happier. I think I've been waiting for this. It was like 6 months of work, but for me it's been like well over a decade of me wanting to be in this position where I can literally just open the gates on my little carport thing and just drive it out and go to the shop or go for a drive with Harriet. It's been amazing. Anyway, yeah, as I said before, strongly recommend if you've got a car that you're just sitting on and waiting for that time. It was last year or 10 years ago. Just fucking crack on, because man, I miss this thing. Is sick. Beautiful, isn't it? Just the greatest thing you've ever seen in your life. VG30, originally it was NA, and over the years, obviously that sucked at 200 plus brake horsepower. So we put the DETT in, and that was pushing 20 years ago. Brad has done a lot. There were a lot of oil leaks. There were a lot of things not working. It had multiple misfires. The wiring loom had like melted sections where some of the injector wires were touching each other. It had both turbos were seized in the end. It wasn't just the near side turbo. It's got a pair of is it the 2871R? Are they S15 turbos? Well, either way, it's got a pair of those. Was it Midland Turbo? Midland Turbo, very cool, thank you very much. They're sick. And at 7 PSI, fast. Well, as fast as you want this to be. It had a bunch of new gaskets and bearings. Gearbox. The gearbox didn't do a whole lot. It would grind into every gear past first. So sent that to Garage D, they reconditioned the gearbox and made it brand spanking new. Very cool. Things that I'm still left to do, I need to replace the BMC because I swapped this BMC for a CA18 one in 2010 so that I could drive to a track in South Wales. It's funny the things you forget you did, but that's actually off an S13. So I need to replace that because the brakes are, despite them being 350Z calipers, the BMC is shockingly shit. The radiator is still an NA radiator. I need to get a new radiator. There's no problem with it, it doesn't overheat, but I mean a new radiator would be nice. The hoses are good, but they seem to fit in a bit peculiar way, so I might need to do some jiggery pokery with that, but generally everything works. You start it, it drives. Also, you may have noticed that the fan shroud very quickly just went through the engine. But generally under here, it needs a bit of a literal clean. But apart from that, it is a fully working, happy as Larry VG30 deck. Moving on to the interior, there was only really one thing that annoyed the shit out of me, and that was that I couldn't ever park this thing anywhere. I had a massive hydro that was made out of a 58mm spanner, which was really cool in 2010. Not so much in like 2024, living on a fucking hill. So this had to happen. Now, I still need to make the adjustment down here to pull the rest of it, but it stops. I can park. I don't need the Nissan 300ZX chock that they all come with. That's real nice. I'm super pleased with that. This is actually the original handbrake that the car came with, and I have pulled this out of so many skips over the years, and I'm glad I did, because now it's back where it belongs. It does look ugly as shit, but it's probably one of, if not only, only parts of the car that are technically original. Sorry, Jono. Anyway, another part of this is the Gredi Profect B Spec 2. I've had loads of these over the years, and they all do the same thing. There's a micro fuse on the board that usually pops when a part of it, and one of the, is it the solenoid? They touch each other and they pop the fuse. Either way, we managed to get this one back from the dead, or Brad managed to bring us someone back from the dead, and it now works again. So it has controllable boost. I mean, it started off when I gave it in with a pair of turbos that smoked like shit. Both compressor wheels were seized, and the boost controller would switch on but wouldn't do anything. So this is fucking wild. I think interior-wise, that's pretty much it. Obviously, the gearbox selects all gears, which is equally as fucking impressive as the rest of it. Moving on. Yeah, and moving around the back of the car, not a lot changed here. We've got the diff reconditioned, and as you can see, there's a lot of cosmetic work that needs to happen. Also, none of the lights worked. They all now work. Thank you, Brad. Very cool. I'd like to get rid of... This is supposed to be orange here, and they're not supposed to look like this. I did this a long time ago, and I thought it was cool. It was never cool. The spoiler needs paint, the boot needs paint, and I really should take the stickers off, but I put them on such a long time ago that, I don't know, there's probably some unhealthy nostalgia attached to them. But either way, that's probably aesthetically all I'd really like to change about that. Maybe a blowover, Adam. The exhaust is from TGS, and that was done in 2015 and just works fantastically. Nothing had needed to be done with that, so I'm pretty pleased with that generally. But yeah, look, the car drove here. It drove here with an MOT, a legit MOT. It's got horn. It's got fog light and shit. I mean, it's a real car. It might not look like one, but it's a real car. My favourite thing to do with the 300ZX, not doing engines, is to drive the fucking thing. Just have a bit of a drive.